I, Barack Hussein Obama, was born on August 4th, 1961, in Honolulu, Hawaii. My mother, Ann Dunham, grew up in Wichita, Kansas, where her father worked on oil rigs during the Great Depression. After the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, Dunham's father, Stanley, enlisted in the service and marched across Europe in Patton's army. Dunham's mother, Madeline, went to work on a bomber assembly line after the war. The couple studied the GI Bill and then bought a house through the federal housing program, and after several moves landed in Hawaii. My father, Barack Obama Sr., was born of Lu ethnicity in Nyanza Province, Kenya. He grew up herding goats in Africa. Yes, herding goats. Eventually, earning a scholarship that allowed him to leave Kenya and pursue his dreams of college in Hawaii that he succeeded in. I did not have a relationship with my father as a child. When I was still an infant, my father relocated to Massachusetts to attend Harvard University, pursuing a PhD. My parents officially separated several months later and ultimately divorced in March 1964, when I was 2. In 1965, while living with my grandparents, I enrolled in the esteemed Punahou Academy, excelling in basketball and graduating with academic honors in 1979. As one of only 3 black students at the school, I became very conscious of racism and what it meant to be African American and a young black male. After high school, I studied at Occidental College in Los Angeles for 2 years. My grades weren't very good at that time, but they still accepted me for my scholarship and my workmanship. I then transferred to Columbia University in New York, graduating in 1983 with a degree in political science. After working in the business sector for 2 years, I moved to Chicago in 1985. There, I worked on the South Side as a community organizer for low-income residents in the Roseland and the Alcheged Gardens communities. After law school, I returned to Chicago to practice as a civil rights lawyer, joining the firm of Minor, Barnhill and Galen. I also taught part-time at the University of Chicago Law School from 1992 to 2004. First as a lecturer, then as a professor. I also helped organize voter registration drives during Bill Clinton's 1992 presidential campaign. On October 3rd, 1992, Michelle and I married. We moved to Kenwood on Chicago's South Side and welcomed 2 daughters several years later. My beautiful girls. Malaya was born on 1998 and Sasha born on 2001. My advocacy work led me to run for a seat in the Illinois State Senate. I ran as a Democrat and won election in 1996. During these years, I worked with both Democrats and Republicans to draft legislation on ethics and expand health care services and early childhood education programs for the poor. I also created a state-earned tax income credit for the working poor. I became a chairman of the Illinois Senate Health and Human Services Committee as well, and after a number of inmates on death row were found innocent, I worked with the law enforcement officials to require the videotaping of interrogations and confessions in all capital cases. In 2000, I made an unsuccessful Democratic primary run for the U.S. House of Representatives seat held by 4-term incumbent candidates by Bobby Rush. Undeterred, I created a campaign committee in 2002 and began raising funds to run for a seat in the U.S. Senate in 2004. With the help of political consultant David Axelrod, I began assessing my prospects for a Senate win. Following the 9/11 attacks in 2001, I was an early opponent of President George W. Bush's push to go to war with Iraq. I was still a senator when he spoke against a resolution authorizing the use of force against Iraq during a rally at Chicago's Federal Plaza in October 2002. In February 2007, I made headlines when I announced my candidacy for the 2008 Democratic presidential inauguration or nomination. I was locked in a tight battle with former First Lady and the U.S. Senator from New York, Hillary Rodham Clinton. On June 3rd, 2008, however, I became the presumptive nominee for the Democratic Party, or the number one nominee. And Senator Clinton delivered her full support to me for the duration of my campaign. On November 4th, 2008, I defeated Republican presidential nominee John McCain, 52.9% to 45.7%, winning election as the 44th President of the United States and the first African American president to hold office in the United States. Thank you. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.